What is happening, baby? Welcome back to the Fantasy Football Huddle presented by the Huddle Chat Sports Network. Today, we're finally here, y'all. We're in the last few hours, the final countdown to the first kickoff of the actual NFL season. We're done with preseason. We're done with draft talk. The season is a go in just a couple hours. So with that being said, I wanted to bring y'all a couple of my bold predictions. If you don't know who I am, I'm Dallas Clark, the host, as always, here on the Huddle Chat Sports Network and the Fantasy Football Huddle. And I got to thank y'all so much for all the love that we've been receiving here on the Fantasy Football Huddle, especially over this last week, these last few videos that have come out. I can tell y'all I've really been appreciating the changes, and I appreciate y'all for all the love that you've been giving. So if you do like the content, always make sure you smash that like button, and always drop down in the comments and ask me your questions. And some of my latest videos, I've answered some viewer comments, some stardom, sit-em questions, some trade questions. Ask me whatever you need to about your fantasy football roster. I'll try as hard as I can to get every comment on every video, but I'll at least answer your comment as quick as I possibly can. So let's get all of the crap out of the way and let's get into the bold predictions of 2023. And today's bold predictions, we're talking about high value bold predictions, players that were probably drafted in the first 10 rounds of your fantasy football draft. We're going to be doing some sleeper bold predictions as well, probably tomorrow. But today we're talking about 3 bold predictions about 3 players that were drafted in a valuable position in your fantasy football draft. So without further ado, let's talk about the first prediction. Bold prediction number 1 is that Garrett Wilson from the New York Jets will be the number 1 wide receiver in fantasy football in 2023 overall. And he's going to be a top 5 overall pick next year in 2024 fantasy football drafts. You heard it here first. Now that might honestly even sound like too wild of a bold prediction, but I wanted to start nice and warm before I explode with the really hot ones for you. But Garrett Wilson, let's face it, he's got superstar level talent. He garnered 147 targets in an offense last year that had absolutely putrid quarterback play. Joe Flacco, Mike White, Zach Wilson, none of them really did much, did they? But Garrett Wilson did a lot. If you've been watching Hard Knocks at all or seen really anything from Hard Knocks, it's clear to see Garrett Wilson is obviously the wide receiver 1 in that offense, and he's really starting to gain the trust of Aaron Rodgers. And speaking of Aaron Rodgers, the back-to-back MVP in 2020 and 2021, you're looking at what he's always been doing with his number 1 wide receiver is Jordy Nelson, is Devontae Adams. Aaron Rodgers loves to pepper his number 1 wide receiver, and Garrett Wilson is up there with the best of them that Aaron Rodgers has ever had. And it also helps that he wears number 17, just like Devontae Adams did. So it's not going to be hard for him to find Garrett Wilson coming down the field. It's going to be a more well-rounded offense. They're not going to be able to hone in on Garrett Wilson quite as much. They're going to want to, and they're going to need to. But Garrett Wilson is going to be the number 1 wide receiver in fantasy football this year. Moving on, Trevor Lawrence will be a top 5 quarterback in fantasy football this year. I think the Jacksonville Jaguars, first and foremost, are this year's Philadelphia Eagles, this year's breakout offense. Wide receiver in Calvin Ridley, who when the last time we saw Calvin Ridley was one of the most interesting and most explosive young and upcoming wide receivers in the NFL. And he wasn't gone due to injury. He was gone due to $1,500 on FanDuel, which is probably less than most of us watching this video or recording this video have put in on FanDuel over the last few years. But that's besides the point. The Jacksonville Jaguars are, like I said, going to be a breakout offense in 2023. Calvin Ridley potentially can be a top 10 wide receiver. Christian Kirk, I love Christian Kirk this season. I'm big on Christian Kirk. Easily a path to a top 20 finish in fantasy football. So they got 2 top 20 wide receivers. Evan Ingram, there's a simple path, an easy path for Evan Ingram to finish as a top 10 fantasy football tight end. Travis Etienne can really fight for running back 1 potential this year, top 12 running back potential, low end RB1 potential. And it's the third year for Trevor Lawrence, third year for quarterbacks. You typically see that third year step up. You see that sophomore slump in year 2. That first year, he had that whole Urban Meyer debacle. We're not even going to speak about that in depth. Year 2 is essentially, you could say, was even his rookie season. Everybody goes through that sophomore slump, especially in the quarterback position, but you always see that uptick in year 3. Trevor Lawrence going into his third year with a better offense, a more competent coaching staff, a great room of playmakers around him in the wide receiver position, tight end, running back. I like everything about Trevor Lawrence this year, and it's going to be hard for him to be a bad quarterback, but he's definitely going to finish as a top 5 quarterback in fantasy football this year. Now, before we move on to the last person, I need to ask you something. Yes, you, the one watching this video, if you're even watching, I mean, you're probably not even paying attention. You probably put me on while you was doing dishes or something, which either way, I appreciate you for the love, the support. But I got to ask you a question. You see that subscribe button down there at the bottom? If you haven't yet, please make sure you hit it. We're trying to hit 100 subscribers here on the new Huddle Chat Sports Network YouTube channel, and once we do, we're going to be giving away tons of customized gear to all of our subscribers, tons of customized sports apparel to all of our subscribers, and one lucky subscriber gets a copy of Madden 24. Now, do everybody a favor, just check that out. Hit that subscriptions bar. Do yourself a favor, hit that notifications bell, and smash that like button. Also, do yourself a favor real quick. I mentioned it before. Check out Kareem Hunt. They're probably going to be potentially on your waiver wire. Wherever Kareem Hunt goes, man, he's going to be an instant. Everybody's going to want him on the waiver wire, and he's going to be at least a top 24 running back in that first week, second week that he comes in to whatever team he goes to. I think he's just waiting for a team to desperately need a running back. And let's be real with each other. Who you really got on your bench? Devin Singletary. Get rid of those players that aren't going to do you much in your starting lineup and pick up somebody that you might be able to actually play this season and might potentially grow into being a league winner. Grab Kareem Hunt if you have the roster space for him, or try to create some roster space for him. Now I got to go with my biggest bold prediction for this season. Now, clip this one. Whatever you got to do, we're going to come back and talk about it, see how right I was with the crazy ones. But I think J.K. Dobbins finishes as a top 10 running back this season. I've talked about J.K. Dobbins a lot. If this is your first time watching this channel, I've talked about J.K. a lot. I'm on the J.K. train this year, and I'm not just kidding about any of that. I'm serious about J.K. Dobbins this year. I mean, it'll be easy for him to finish as a top 10 running back when you look at the fact that 30-year-old Mark Ingram just 3 years ago finished as running back 10 in the when Lamar Jackson was firing all cylinders, and he only did it really off of about 230 touches. All J.K. Dobbins really needs is about 240 touches, about 50 to 70 targets, receptions out of the backfield to really carve a path to running back 10 or better. He's also been the most efficient running back since he entered the league on a statistic perspective. I really think that J.K. Dobbins is in for an absolutely explosive year. Now 2 years removed from the ACL tear. Now all cylinders in a revamped offense. Lamar Jackson back pumping, back going the way he needs to be going. This offense looks to be built on playmakers, and this offense is built on the running game. Let's not forget that streak they had of how many games straight where they went 200 rushing yards. This team loves to run. They're an old school team, and J.K. Dobbins is finna eat this year. He's going to be a top 10 running back or better, and you can quote me on that one. That's going to be it for today's bold predictions. We're going to come back and visit these a little bit later in the season and see how right I was. Y'all can clown me if I'm wrong, or y'all can give me maybe a little pat on the back if I'm right. But that's going to be besides the point. Make sure you always keep your chin up and your attitude down. I'll see y'all next time. I'm out of here, baby. Peace out.